Into 21 BC, China was finally united. 7 warring kingdoms were gone. 1 emperor remained. But victory didn't bring peace, it brought fear. Because Qin Shi Huang didn't just defeat his enemies on the battlefield, he hunted them in the shadows. This is the story of how the first emperor silenced his rivals forever. The night Qin Shi Huang became emperor, the palace burned with 1,000 torches, drums echoed through the capital, Xianyang, messengers galloped through the streets, generals bowed in submission. For the first time in history, China was one nation under one ruler, but far from the celebrations. In quiet rooms across the empire, the former kings of the vanquished states sat awake. They listened to the same question repeating in their minds, "What will he do to us now?" Qin Shi Huang stood alone on a high palace balcony. Below him stretched an empire built with blood and iron. His chief advisor, Li Si, approached carefully. "Your Majesty," Li Si said in a low voice, "the empire celebrates you." Qin Shi Huang didn't smile. "Celebrations end," he replied, his voice cold. "Memory does not." He turned slowly, his gaze piercing the darkness. "Tell me, Li Si, how many men still dream of my death?" Li Si hesitated. "More than those who dare say it aloud." The emperor nodded. He already knew the old kings were still alive. The generals still had loyal followers there. Very names still carried weight. A single rumor could spark a rebellion. A ruler with rivals, Qin Shi Huang declared, clenching his fist, is a ruler waiting to fall. I will not wait. His first move was surprisingly subtle. Instead of public executions, which would create martyrs, he ordered a great relocation. The former royal families, all of them, along with their courts and leading officials, were commanded to move to the capital, Xianyang. Tens of thousands of powerful individuals were uprooted from their homes and power bases. Officially, it was an honor. They were invited to live near the emperor, to be part of the new imperial structure. But in reality, they were hostages. Stripped of their armies and their land, they were now living under Qin Shi Huang's constant surveillance, right under the shadow of his palace. Their new homes were lavish, but they were gilded cages. Next, he targeted their symbols. Every kingdom had its own history, its own laws, its own currency, and even its own way of writing. To Qin Shi Huang, these were not just cultural differences, they were seeds of dissent. He ordered the standardization of everything. Weights, measures, and the width of roads were all made uniform. One currency replaced all others. Most importantly, one script, the small seal script, became the only legal form of writing. All historical records of the old states, except for those in the imperial archive, were to be burned. This wasn't just about efficiency, it was about erasing memory. If no one could read the old stories, if no one remembered the old kings, then how could they dream of returning to the old ways? But the most insidious weapon was fear. Qin Shi Huang and Li Si created a vast network of spies. Neighbors were encouraged to spy on neighbors. Officials were ordered to report on each other. Any word of dissent, any private complaint about the emperor, was met with swift and brutal punishment. The law was absolute. It applied to everyone, from the lowest peasant to the highest aristocrat. One person's crime could lead to the execution of their entire family. This system of legalism created an atmosphere of pervasive paranoia. Who could you trust? Who was listening? It was safer to say nothing. To think nothing. Silence became survival. The most famous and controversial act of silencing came later in his reign, known as the burning of books and burying of scholars. Frustrated with Confucian scholars who used tales of past golden ages to criticize his rule, Qin Shi Huang took Li Si's advice. He ordered the destruction of all non-utilitarian books philosophy. History, poetry, anything that could inspire independent thought. The only books spared were those on medicine, agriculture, and divination. According to the grand historian Sima Jin, writing a century later, the emperor then had over 460 scholars buried alive for defying his decree. While some modern historians debate the literal truth of the burying, the event symbolized the ultimate suppression of intellectual freedom. It was a clear message. The only legitimate thought was the emperor's thought. The only history that mattered was the one he was writing. Yet, for all his efforts, did he truly succeed? while Qin Shi Huang built the Great Wall and the Terracotta Army monuments to his power, he could never fully extinguish the embers of resentment. His methods were too brutal, his reign too oppressive. He united the land. But he never truly won the hearts of the people. The fear he instilled was a double-edged sword. It kept his enemies quiet, but it also bred a deep, simmering hatred that was just waiting for a chance to explode. When Qin Shi Huang died in 10 BC, the silence he had so brutally enforced was shattered. His carefully constructed empire, built on fear and control, began to crumble almost immediately. The very rivals he had tried to erase from history rose up. The sons of the old kings and generals led massive rebellions. The oppressive laws that held the empire together became the very reason for its downfall within 4 years of his death. The Qin dynasty was overthrown. The great palaces of Xianyang were burned to the ground. A symbolic end to the reign of the man who sought to control everything. In the end, Qin Shi Huang's quest for eternal security led to his dynasty's swift demise. He silenced his rivals, but he couldn't silence the human desire for freedom and justice. His story serves as a timeless, chilling lesson. You can build an empire with force, but you cannot hold it together with fear alone. The voices he tried to bury in the ground eventually rose up from the dust to reclaim their history. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the dark heart of ancient China fascinating, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history as most compelling. And stories, let us know in the comments what other historical figures or events you'd like us to explore next. See you in the next one.